right, everyone, we're going to continue our study of the book. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. Before we start, I'd like to pray. Go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful we can come to you and that you answer us, you hear us. We're so grateful you're here with us. Your Holy Spirit is with us. We're so grateful, God, for your word, for your truth. We're so grateful, God, that you gave us minds that we can understand the truth. God, be with us. I pray, God, that we'll learn what you want us to learn, and we'll take what we learn and just share it with the world. God, please show us who you want us to witness to. God, every day, point out to us and move us to reach out to those who don't know you. God, every day we want to reach out to the lost and turn people to you. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. So we went over the last class. We were talking about the 4 arguments, 4 reasons, 4 theories that prove that there is a theistic God. And guys, why this is so important is if there's a theistic God, then is atheism, is postmodernism or existentialism or secular humanism true? No, it's not true. If there's a theistic God, is New Age or pantheism true? No. If there's a theistic God, there are only 3 possibilities. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are the only 3 worldviews, only 3 religions that teach there's a theistic God. So if we can prove through science that a theistic God exists, then that rules out all other worldviews as false, because they say that the theistic God does not exist. So that's why proving that is important. It's something that you really should know and be able to tell someone. You know, you can say, number 1, it's been proven that the universe has a beginning. And to have a beginning, anything that has a beginning has a cause, so that something outside of the universe caused it. And you can explain the thing that has caused the universe has the exact same characteristics as the God in the Bible. And then the second reason, the second thing you can say to someone who says, I don't believe there's a theistic God, is that teleological argument. Teleological is just a word, the Greek word, means design. And that says that the universe shows intelligence and design. Behind every complex design is a designer. The universe has a complex design, therefore the universe has a designer. This is common sense, right? How do we recognize intelligence? And it's something we all do every day, and it's pretty easy. We use something from forensic science called the principle of uniformity. It states that causes and effects in the past are like causes and effects that we see today. And we assume by this principle that an intelligent effect is just something, the result of something, is the result of an intelligent cause. So if you see something that looks like it was created by intelligence, it was. It's basically what it says. It's kind of common sense. So William Paley, in the 1700s, came up with every watch has a watchmaker. I don't know if you've heard of that. And it's pretty much common sense. If you're walking along and see this watch, would you ever in a million years say, oh, look what chance created. Look what wind, rain, and billions of years created. Isn't that neat? No. We would say you've lost your marbles if you think that rain and erosion and billions of years created this watch, right? What about this? This we can say, okay, this is something that was created by wind and erosion. And by the way, a little side note, if you think this was created by billions of years, I challenge you to look up the Mount Helens eruption in 1982. In one day, water gushed down from the eruption and created a mini Grand Canyon. 150-foot deep mini Grand Canyon was created in one day. To me, with the biblical worldview, this is the result of the flood, when the God says he opened up the deep and the waters gushed up, and this is what gushing water would do. Not a slow process of a little bit of time, but a major force of water, which is the biblical worldview. When we look at this, would you ever say this was created over billions of years with wind, rain, and time? If someone said that, they'd have to be crazy. You would That's when you see intelligence, you know some intelligence had to create it. Something from water and erosion. Would water and erosion ever do that? No. Common sense says intelligence was behind that. This one's hard to see, but they're little people and they're animals, and the people are holding spears. It's hard to see now. You're not going to have the little animals with the tails, and they look like deer. You're just never going to have that from chance. We recognize marks of intelligence. There's no way, I don't care how many billions of years you have, would that just come up. It's just like in the book, they talk about even something as simple as take out the garbage from the alphabet cereal. Something that simple. We know it came from an intelligent designer. Or drink Coke. You see drink Coke it doesn't matter how many billions of years you have. That will never appear in the clouds. Intelligence never comes from non-intelligence. And that's common sense. We all know how to differentiate an intelligent cause versus a natural cause. There are only two types of causes, either intelligence or non-intelligence, which is natural. Everything is either caused by chance, nature, or intelligence. There's nothing in between. Sir Isaac Newton was one of the most famous scientists, and he said this most beautiful system of sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. So when you look at the universe, there's no way it was created by natural causes. It is too beautiful, it is too exact, and it's not something that could have just happened out of chance. We know that when we see little foot marks, the arrow marks, intelligence. How much more, looking at the universe, did it come from intelligence? And I love this, anthropic principle. Anthro means man. So this is the principle for the design of the universe. And it says that this principle says the universe is extremely high-tuned or designed to support human life on Earth. Our Earth is like a spaceship. If one thing goes wrong, we all die. It's kind of like Apollo 7. You know, did you know that the Apollo 7, they almost died? You've seen the movie. Do you know what caused the explosion? Someone dropped the oxygen tank just 2 inches. That's it. Just dropped it a little bit. Made a tiny crack that you couldn't even see with the naked eye. That tiny crack, when they took off, caused the explosion, and they ended up having to go into the little lunar module till the very end. And I mean, it's a great movie. Anyway, our Earth is like that spaceship. We can't live anywhere else. But everything has to be just right. The carbon dioxide, the oxygen, the water, everything has to be perfect, just like in that spaceship for us to live. It's extremely high-tuned. Our Earth is so much more complicated than any spaceship. A lot of people say that there could be a lot of Earths out there. Why aren't there Earths with people on them everywhere? Well, we're going to prove that it's impossible, scientifically impossible for there to be other Earths with people. But one thing, if you look at Genesis 1:1, it says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Dark was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters." This was day 1. So he created the earth before he got to the rest of the universe. It wasn't until day 4 that God made the 2 great lights. The greater light to govern the day and the sun, the lesser light to govern the night, the moon. Made the stars, set them in the vault of the sky to give light to the earth, to govern the day and the night, to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and morning the 4th day. So guys, the earth is very unique. It was made just for us. And when people are out looking for other Earths, looking for aliens and other life, they're not going to find it. And I will show you through a few more slides that they're not going to find it. But this earth is very unique. And it was created, you had to have intelligence to create it. That's what this principle says. So I'm going to give you a few examples of the fine-tuning of the earth. You're not going to remember these, you have to write them down. But just if you can get the gist of this, it's amazing. So oxygen makes up 21% of our air. If it was 25%, there'd be fires everywhere. If it was 15%, we would suffocate, wouldn't have enough oxygen. It's got to be right 21%. Gravity, if it was altered by, okay, do you see how big that number is? The sun would not exist and the moon would crash into the earth because our gravity affects how far the sun is and it holds the moon where it is. Look at that number. Okay, is it just chance that happened? If the centrifugal force, that's the center force of the planetary movements, did not precisely balance the gravitational forces, nothing could be held in orbit around the sun. If the universe was expanding at a rate 1/1,000,000th more slowly, just 1/1,000,000th more slowly, the temperature on Earth would be 10,000 degrees. So, you think Florida's hot? It's not hot compared to this. If it was faster, no galaxies would have formed. If Jupiter were not exactly where it is, we would be bombarded by space material all the time. Right now, Jupiter has a big, it's like a vacuum cleaner. It has a strong gravity pull. And when comet and asteroids and meteorites that would crash into the Earth, when they go by, Jupiter just sucks them all in, like a giant vacuum cleaner. If there were more earthquakes, I don't know what happened to the rest of this. Well, I don't know what happened to that, but if there were more earthquakes, then there would be more loss of life. If there were less earthquakes, then the nutrients wouldn't be recycled to keep plants and everything going on the earth. If the thickness of the Earth's crust was greater, too much oxygen would be transferred to the crust to support life. If the crust was any thinner, there would be volcanic and tectonic that's activity below the plates, and it'd make life impossible. Wouldn't be able to live here for all the earthquakes. The axis of the Earth, the axis is the middle of the Earth. It is set so carefully that if it was altered just a little bit, surface temperatures of the Earth would be far too great. If water vapor levels in the atmosphere were greater than they are now, there would be a runaway greenhouse effect, and temperatures would be way too high. It'd be too hot for us to live. We'd die. If the water vapor levels were less, we would be too cold. Here it is. If there were more earthquakes, more life would be lost. If there were less nutrients on the ocean floors and river runoffs, it wouldn't be cycled back. And there would be too little nitrogen in the soil. Okay, so here more. If the atmosphere were less transparent, we would not get enough solar radiation. If it was too transparent, we'd be bombarded with too much radiation. If the carbon dioxide level were higher, we would be burned up. If it was lower, plants wouldn't be able to do photosynthesis. If the speed of light, which is, look at the number, how many meters per second it is very fast. If that was any different, it would change all the other constants and prevent life on Earth. If the Earth's rotation took longer than 24 hours, the temperature change between day and night would be too great. If it was shorter, the wind velocities would be too great for life on Earth. If the lightning rate were greater, there'd be too much fire and destruction. If it were less, there'd be too little nitrogen fixing in the soil. So there are 122 of these constants that scientists have figured out. Okay? Scientists have come up with a list of 122 things that have to be in existence for us to live. If one of these constants change, it could prevent life on Earth. Right? If just one of these constants were different. So someone did a study, an astrophysicist, Hugh Ross, did a study. He calculated the odds of all of these principles, 122 they've come up with, to be in a place on any one planet in the universe by chance, right? There's no intelligent creator. This is just by chance. One chance in 10 with 138 zeros after it. Okay. Do you know how many atoms there are? They don't know this for sure. But they estimate how many atoms are in the universe. 10 with 70 zeros. So anything that exceeds 10 with 50, that's zero. Forget it. So there is zero chance that any other planet in the universe would have the ability to have human life, sustain human life. And we see in Genesis, God created this earth for us. So We should stop looking for life on other planets and focus on the life that is here. Earth is unique. It was created for us. And all of these 122 things show that it was created with a high degree of intelligence. Chance, in other words, chance could not have created this earth and allowed us to live on this earth. There's zero chance that this life, that our life in this earth is here by chance. That's basically what that's saying. So I wanted to just show you this, and I want you to think for a second about God. And this will change the way you worship. I know it's changed the way I worship. What do we learn about God when we learn about the universe? Okay, the Milky Way, our galaxy, has 400 billion stars. Okay, just our Milky Way. To go from one star to the next, it would take, if you're going at 5 miles per second, it would take you 200,000 years to go from one star, our sun, to the next closest star. So there are it's estimated, 400 billion stars in our Milky Way galaxy. That's an estimate. It's also estimated by astronomers that there are around, who knows for sure, 170 billion galaxies. That's just in the observable universe. That's just what we can kind of see when we look in each direction, 13.8 billion light years in every direction. So you can see how amazing our universe is. And this was all created by something outside the universe. It was outside all of this space, outside this matter, and outside time, outside. So the creator is always greater than what it creates. You can't create something greater than yourself. So this just for you to get a picture of when you worship God. Think of the glories of the heaven. And you can understand now why God says his eternal power and divine nature are clearly seen, being understood through what has been made. So you're not an excuse. If you say, oh, it's here by random chance, there is no excuse not to acknowledge God as the creator. Looking at the odds of this earth being here by chance is about twice the number of atoms in the universe. Because of that, it takes a lot more faith to be an atheist, right, than a Christian. There's a lot more faith. Basically, there's zero chance. All right, so the next argument that we're going on to is the argument for the design of life. So we've shown that there is definitely a creator who create a first cause because the universe has a beginning. We've shown that the earth could only be created by intelligence. There's zero chance it was created by chance, which is what atheists teach. And the third thing we're going to show is the argument for the design of life. The argument for the design of life says that behind every complex design is a designer. Once again, humans have a complex design. Therefore, we have a designer. No human observed the first life being formed, right? So how do we figure out how life was formed? Well, we use forensic science, just like we do when we're solving a crime. You look at the existing evidence. A huge problem for evolutionists came in 1953 when DNA was found. It is so incredibly complex that it has demolished evolution. It really has. Every DNA is so compact that just one little DNA molecule, there's 5 billion times more information than in any hard drive that exists on Earth. That's how much information is in one little DNA, all right? It's a language. DNA is a language. It is a math language. It has A, C, T, G, and it uses that and changes. Just as we have an alphabet, it has an alphabet. And we know that every language comes with an intelligent cause, right? And every known thing that lives, animals and people, all have this same language. So DNA is in all animals and all people. It's a universal language. So atheists, like Darwinist Richard Dawkins, admit that the message found in the cell nucleus of an amoeba. So an inch holds about 100 amoebas. So an amoeba is small. So just alone in the nucleus, like which is the middle of one little amoeba, is more information than all 30 volumes of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Right there. So that's just in the nucleus of one little amoeba. And Darnell's will say, yes, there's a lot of information. Did you know if you looked at the entire amoeba, that it has as much information as 1,000 complete sets of the encyclopedia? And this information is not random, but it's very specific information that tells how cells are to be built, how they're to be formed, and what they're supposed to do. So it's very specific information detailing exactly how to build cells and the purpose of cells, every function. It's very detailed information. So if a simple message like take out the garbage, we know is intelligence, 1,000 complete sets of the encyclopedia comes from intelligence. So we have to admit that. Another problem for evolutionists, those who believe in evolution, and basically if you believe in evolution, Darwinian evolution, you believe that the first cell came and it didn't come from God, it just appeared, and slowly it evolved over time and became a frog and then eventually became a man, but it all happened by random chance, okay? And you have to understand, this is what's taught in our schools. The Supreme Court just said you cannot teach that the intelligent cause created. You can't even teach intelligent cause creating people or animals. You can't. You have to teach this theory. So evolution says it's all by random chance, all right? But we're seeing here, there's no way all the intelligence can come from a non-intelligent source. So this is another problem for those who believe in evolution. In order to form a protein, which is kind of the building block of life, you have to have DNA to tell the protein how to build. But you can't form DNA without a protein. So which came first? And you literally have scientists trying to figure out, which came first. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, the protein? Because you have to have proteins, have DNA, and the DNA into protein. We have an answer to that. God created both at the same time. But each individual cell we have, and remember, we have 60 trillion cells. This is just an average. The average adult has 60 trillion cells in her body. Each cell is more complex than anything man has seen, including the most complex computer that Apple has ever built, or our government has ever built, or anyone's ever built. The most highly technological achievement of man is much less intelligent than one cell. And we have 60 trillion cells. So it is, but beyond being ridiculous to say that the intelligence in each of our cells, the intelligence in all the information in our DNA came by random chance. We know when we see drink Coke in white puffy letters, we know that's intelligence. When we see 1,000 complete sets of encyclopedia worth of information with very specific language, very specific orders for how to build things, we know it's from intelligence. Darwin wrote that the cell was simple. He said if it were proven otherwise, his theory would fail. It has been proven otherwise, but his theory hasn't failed because they can't come up with any other theory, and they don't, like we said, it's evolutionary reason, they do not want to give up their sin. They don't want to bow the knee. So atheists will say, yes, they look overwhelmingly as if they were designed by intelligence. They give the impression of having been designed for a purpose, but they won't give it up. Evolutionists today teach our children at school, and my kids were taught this. They're not, it's true. They're in a Christian school. They were taught this is what evolution is, and then we had a discussion about it about 2 weeks ago. Life generated spontaneously. Spontaneously means just by chance. No God, no intelligence. It means without intelligence, so life generated by natural chance and law. And we know from the Bible that God did not use chance. God willed it, and God spoke it. And God used his intelligence to design it. But evolutionists will not let it go. But we know the truth, science, is on the side of having a theistic God. So there are problems with spontaneous generation. If you look inside a cell, you have proteins, right? Proteins are made of amino acids. So scientists for many years have been trying to create life. They've tried so hard. They think if we can create life, then we can show that, that lightning and amoebas created life, or I don't know what they're trying to prove. They've never been able to do it. But they've tried, and they're using intelligence and other material, by the way, to try to create life, and they can't do it. They could never even begin to explain how would chance, non-intelligence, and no matter create life. But anyway, so what they did, they tried to create proteins. And to create a protein is made up of amino acids. So amino acids are left-handed and right-handed. They're like our hands, they're opposite from each other. So every time nature left alone, when they put these amino acids in and try to put the chemicals in, try to create amino acids, they come up with left-handed and right-handed amino acids. But life only uses left-handed amino acids. If you combine them, the cell dies. So scientists have never been able to get rid of the right-handed and produce just left-handed. But in our bodies, we only have left-handed. So life cannot start when left to a naturalist process, because a chance always causes both left and right. So scientists have not been able to create a protein. And remember, just one amino acid. An amino acid, it takes hundreds of amino acids just to make a protein. So, haven't gotten very far. But atheists will say, yes, we have to keep reminding ourselves. We have to remind ourselves what we see was not designed. It evolved. So that's what they do. They just keep reminding themselves. He was one of the founders of DNA. I love this. Why deny the possibility of God? And this really gets to the heart of it. There are only two possibilities as to how life arose. And that's something everyone will agree to. It either arose by spontaneous generation, which is, evolution, just by chance, or there was a supernatural creative act of God. There is no third possibility. Spontaneous generation, that life arose from non-living matter, was scientifically disproved 120 years ago by Louis Pasteur and others. Okay? People have tried to produce life. They can't do it. They keep getting left and right-handed amino acids. It won't work. The cell dies. That leaves us with one possible conclusion, that life arose as a creative act of God. I will not accept that philosophically. Remember I was talking about the volitional reasons people don't accept Christianity? This is it. Because I do not want to believe in God. Therefore, I choose to believe in that which I know is scientifically impossible. He's won a Nobel Prize, biology. So you don't let anyone tell you that it's about science or the Bible, or science or Christianity. It's not. It's about bad science and good science. Good science is on the side of Christianity. Because we know that God is the creator, all science comes from God. He created everything. You will never be embarrassed when you look into science. Science will point to a creator. Science will point to God. So the truth is on your side. God did create humans, and he created the earth. So when you get into discussions with people, remember that the truth is on your side, and you're never going to find science out there that disproves God is our creator, ever. It's just a matter of having a discussion, and you're going to find that most people who believe in evolution, they don't want to have the discussion. They just believe it because they were told. They've never thought about it deep. They just believe what their teacher told them. So anyway, it's sad. I wanted to show you this. This is DNA cut in half, the one on the right. So we know the one on the left is a window. It's a window in a church. The one on the right, this is DNA. Be along the axis when you're looking down at DNA, double helix. Oh, where'd it go? I'm glad you told me. Oh, okay. Maybe one more. What happened here? This is definitely not from intelligence. So you can see, now you can see. Sorry, thanks for telling me. But you were saying you couldn't see. Put on your glasses. Want my glasses? So obviously when you look at the DNA, does that look like something random chance? No. There's so much intelligence in one DNA. We couldn't even comprehend. We can't comprehend the amount of information, intelligent information that's in one little DNA. So what is the probability that life arose by chance from non-living chemicals, which is what those who do not believe in a theistic God said? The chance to get one protein molecule, which has 100 amino acids by chance, is the same as a blindfolded man finding one marked grain of sand in the Sahara Desert 3 times in a row. Okay, can we say that's 0? And you need 200 of these protein molecules in a row to get life. You can't even get a simple cell, a life cell. You can't get one little amoeba. You can't even get life without 200 of these protein molecules in a row. And they have to be in a specific row. Therefore, the probability of life arising by chance, which is what we're taught, is 0. There has to be an intelligent designer. The probability of life arising by chance is 0. Darwinists will tell you, well, if you just had more time, if we just could give it more time, life would create. Time, as just turned 50, I will tell you, you don't necessarily get better over time. Things tend to wear down over time. And there's more chaos, and there's more disorder. Let's say you have a flag, American flag, and you cut it up into pieces, and you drop it from a ladder, and you look at it on the ground. And then let's say you say, I'm going to give it more time to put itself together. So you go up in a plane 1,000 feet and drop it. Okay, when is it going to be more chaotic and spread apart? When you give it more time, the flag pieces are going to be everywhere if you drop them from 1,000 feet. Time causes chaos and randomization. But they keep telling you more time. And that is the only reason scientists today say there's this the Earth has been here billions and millions of years. They keep adding time. And if you want a discussion about the age of the Earth, it's also in the Christian Worldview book. It's one of the appendixes in the back. We didn't have time to get into it, but that's something that people have different opinions on. But if you're interested in that, you can look at it at some point. So we just have to remember that chance is not a cause. It's just a word that describes possibilities. It's not a cause. It has no power of its own. It's a word used to cover ignorance. You say chance caused this coin to be heads. No. The way I threw it, the wind in it, maybe gravity, those are things that caused it. Chance is nothing, right? So don't let someone tell you that chance created life, chance created the universe, chance is nothing. So if now we're going to go on, what about going from an amoeba to a man? Darwinian evolution. And we all know this is something that the schools and everyone teaches. There are 2 types of evolution. Macroevolution is the belief that all life forms have descended from the first one-celled creature by natural forces, again, chance, without any intelligence, to human. All right? That's what Darwinian evolution is. That is macroevolution. Microevolution is the belief that changes within a species exist due to pre-existing genetics. That is called adaptation. We all, as Christians, we all believe in microevolution. If someone says, do you believe in evolution? You say, what kind? Yes. I believe in microevolution. Yes. That is just adaptation. Inside, we have all of this DNA. The DNA tells cells which way to build. There's so much information inside of our cells. When you have a bird and the weather changes and it's dry and it needs a tougher bill, DNA will have the bird grow a tougher bill so that it can crack open things and eat. Then when there's a lot of rain and things are softer, DNA will get the beak to change. That is what microevolution is. Darwin used microevolution to say that it proves macroevolution. This is what postmodernists do. They change the meaning of words. So a Darwinian evolution believes in macroevolution, that a amoeba will go to a person. That has never been proven. I have a dear friend who's very involved in the Science Museum of Boston. She was so excited telling me about a new, in the Science Museum, a new exhibit showing evolution. She's talking about macroevolution. I said, well, what is it? She said, well, it shows men's feet. Men's feet used to be flatter, and now they're becoming more curved. And I'm thinking, okay, Darwinian evolution says that a frog becomes a person. You're telling me that a man's foot changed. That's adaptation. I didn't say it, but that's adaptation. That is something as a Christian we all believe in, because God created us to be able to adapt to the surrounding circumstances. That has nothing to do with going from an amoeba to a man, but that's the only proof they have. Natural selection has never been observed to create new types. It is not observable. It is not measurable. It's not repeatable. So it is not scientific, right? So Darwinian evolution, from amoeba to apes to man, that is not scientific, all right? It's never been seen, never been proven. It is not scientific. Natural selection, which is what they say in evolution, says that the fittest survive, but there is no selection involved because selection requires intelligence. And there is no intelligence in nature. It's a blind process. There are many variables like droughts, fires, earthquakes, diseases. Those things impact survival. So when you look out there, you don't see survival of the fittest like they claim. Their babies are alive. We see little monkeys alive. We have all kinds. And sometimes you have a lion that's killed in a drought. It is a circular argument to say those who are fit survive due to evolution. Those who are best equipped genetically and or structurally to deal with the many changing environment are those who survive. Okay? It's not those who are fit. And so the whole theory that man, from ape to man, macroevolution, it's never been proven. It never will be proven. It's not scientific, and it's not logical. Microevolution is changes within a species. Darwin says that finches' beaks changed as proof of evolution, and everyone bought it. But we know that that's adaptation. Adaptation is circular. Did you know those finches' beaks actually went back to being soft? They change. Men's feet change based on where you live and circumstances, environment, things. We were created to adapt, but God gave us all that information. Darwinian evolutionists claim that bacteria that survive antibiotics, that's macroevolution, that's Darwin evolution. But what do you get in the beginning? Bacteria. What do you have at the end? Bacteria. That doesn't prove a frog going to man. That just shows bacteria can adapt due to pre-existing genetics. There is a great website. I don't know if anyone's heard of this, but I really recommend you watching this at some point. If you know someone who believes in evolution, Darwinian evolution, please have them watch this. Send it to my children and have them watch it. It just came out in July by a guy named Ray Comfort. He predicted that there's going to be a full-scale attack on my character because atheists want to stop this movie being seen. Many of them are very angry, but to me this is a hill to die on and ready for battle for whatever brings with it. And basically, this video has top evolutionary professors at universities out in California, and he's saying, okay, give me an example of Darwinian evolution, and they can't do it. They can't do it. And they end up saying the silliest things when you watch it. But when he interviews all these students, they all think, oh, yes, I believe in it, but then they can't give any evidence. So you realize what a hollow, just a mindless belief it is. We know it can't be true, and also in the Christian Worldview notebook, there's a lot of this is in the back of it. It's Appendix 1, if you want more information. It can't be true because, one, genetic limits. DNA has built-in limits. Dogs will always stay dogs. Cats will always stay cats. They don't have the DNA to change. Even when scientists manipulated the fruit flies, all those fruit fly studies, they stayed fruit flies. I mean, no matter how many studies they did, they were still fruit flies. Atheists will say in a debate, I heard an atheist say, well, look at airplanes, how they evolved from the little bitty, Wright brothers to the jet. But it was through intelligence, right? And they're still airplanes. I mean, you're adapting through intelligence. Mutations. This kills me. Evolutionists say that life changes, all these changes through mutations, okay? The reason a frog becomes a man is because the frog's cells mutate. All right, you know what happens when things mutate? They usually die. When we see things like a lot of the disorders, Down syndrome, those are from mutated chromosomes. Mutations rarely have anything good happen. Science has proven that it almost never causes positive results, and it never adds new information. So how are you going to go from a frog to a person if you don't have new information? If you just have the frog's existing cells mutated. But that's what they claim. Cyclical change, they say that life is going, there's a change from a frog into man, and who knows what's next. But when you look at changes, they're always within a species, and like they circle, like the foot goes back and forth. Another reason it can't be true is irreducible complexity. And that is there's irreducible complexity. There's a great book by Michael Beebe, Darwin's Black Box. It says all parts of the machine must be completely formed in the right place, in the right size, in the right order for it to work. And basically, he said that the degree of irreducible complexity in living things is mind-boggling. DNA is made up of the letters, remember, A, C, T, and G. Within each human cell, there are about 3,000 million pairs of these DNA letters. Not only does your body have trillions of cells and make millions of new cells every second, but each cell is irreducibly complex and contains irreducibly complex subsystems. So this completely kills Darwinism. Organisms do not come to be by slight successive mutations over a long period of time. They can't exist unless all the parts are working together at the same time. And there's not one scientific publication that can explain how any of these irreducibly complex cells can come through evolution. They're silent. There's just silence. They just can't explain it. Charles Darwin said if it could be demonstrated that a complex organ existed, which could not have possibly been formed by numerous successive change, my theory would break down. Darwin said over and over, my theory would break down. It hasn't because people don't want to believe in their creator. Also, this is another reason that Darwinism is not true, non-viability of transitional forms. How does a fish walk out of the water and start breathing? Does it have lungs in the water or gills on land? And evolutionists say that reptiles became birds, but if it lost its scales but doesn't have its feathers, because feathers don't work until everything is all there, how does it survive? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not very logical. And then also another reason is the molecular isolation. If all species share a common ancestor, we would find protein sequences that are transitional from a fish to an amphibian to a reptile, but we don't. They're isolated. There are big gaps between these organisms. So next week we're going to start on Darwin's dilemma, and we're going to talk about the fossil record. We're going to go on and in the next class and go on and finish evolution, and then go on to the last two reasons why a theistic God exists. So I hope everyone is enjoying the class, and I just want you to know that truth is on your side. Science will always stand up for Christ, always. He created it. So just know that you have truth on your side in any conversation you have with anyone.